Hello, welcome back. At 53 years old, the celebrated gospel singer Sinach finally voiced the words that had lingered in the air for years, words that many had quietly longed to hear, but never expected would come. For so much of her career, whispers trailed her steps. Though her songs resonated as prayers and declarations of faith across churches and communities worldwide, doubt and speculation never strayed too far behind. Fans debated, church members whispered, online discussions sparked, yet Sinag herself had never addressed the rumors. She carried on, smiling, ministering, and pouring her heart into her music without giving in to the chatter. But now, after decades of silence, she admitted the truth. Her confession wasn't wrapped in spectacle or dramatics. It came gently, earnestly, almost as if it had been carried on the wind. And yet, the simplicity of her words made the moment thunderous in its power. To understand why this was so significant, one has to look back at her journey. From the earliest days of her career, Sinaka's music wasn't simply about rhythm or melody. Her voice became a vessel of prayer, a sound that crossed cultural and geographical boundaries to touch people's spirits. Her songs became part of the tapestry of worship in churches around the globe, anthems that carried people through both celebrations and heartbreaks. Her humble nature and quiet dignity allowed her work to shine beyond her personality. She wasn't chasing fame or attention. Her mission was always to point people toward faith, and in that mission she thrived. Perhaps this is also why she kept her private life so closely guarded. That veil of privacy, however, only intensified curiosity. The more she avoided addressing certain matters, the more speculation grew. And so the question stayed alive, whispered from pulpits to pews, from forums to family gatherings. Still, Sinak never flinched. She held her silence as steadfastly as she held her faith. Her refusal to respond to the gossip was not born of fear or weakness, but out of resolve. She chose to keep her focus where she believed it belonged, on her songs, her ministry, her calling. While some admired her ability to rise above the noise, others grew frustrated, interpreting her quietness as unspoken confirmation. Yet she pressed on, never swayed by public pressure. For her, the truth was not something to be forced into the spotlight prematurely. It had to come in its own time, and until then she bore the weight of silence with remarkable strength. Silence, however, is not without its cost. Over time it becomes heavier, the burden growing with each year. And so, at 53, Sinach chose to lift that weight. When she finally spoke, it was not to shock the world or generate headlines. It was simply to be honest. Her voice, steady and calm, carried a confession that people had been waiting to hear. She explained why she had remained quiet for so long, emphasizing the importance of timing and peace. For her, speaking too soon would have been a compromise. She wanted to share her truth only when her heart was ready. Her words weren't about appeasing the outside world, but about living authentically. And that authenticity made her confession resonate all the more deeply. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Fans who had waited years to hear directly from her felt relief. Many expressed gratitude, thanking her for choosing honesty and for waiting until the right moment rather than rushing under pressure. Others were inspired by her courage, applauding the dignity and composure with which she broke her silence. Within the gospel community, fellow ministers and artists stood by her, praising her bravery and reminding everyone that even those who inspire millions carry private struggles. What had once been speculation turned into reality, and instead of dividing her supporters, the truth brought unity. People began to see her not just as an extraordinary singer, but as a woman who chose truth over convenience, authenticity over pretense. Looking back at her path, her confession feels like the missing piece of her story. Her life has always been marked by resilience, perseverance, and faith. Now her willingness to embrace honesty at this stage only adds depth to her legacy. It doesn't weaken her, nor does it tarnish her music. Instead, it enriches it. Every lyric she ever sang about hope, faith, or trust in God now carries an even greater weight, because they are backed by the reality of her own lived experience. Her struggles and her silence don't detract from her triumphs. They explain them. They show that beneath the soaring voice and unwavering stage presence stood a human being who bore burdens in silence, until the time came to lay them down. Her revelation is more than just news. It is a lesson. It teaches that courage doesn't always roar in the moment of confrontation. Sometimes courage is found in waiting, in holding back until the soul is ready, and then speaking with grace. It shows that truth, when finally shared, is powerful not because it shocks, but because it liberates. Her words remind us that even our heroes, no matter how flawless they may appear on stage, carry struggles of their own. Acknowledging those struggles doesn't strip them of strength, it reveals it. Her legacy, then, isn't confined to her music alone. It is built equally on her bravery. She has shown that honesty paired with faith
can heal years of rumor and uncertainty. She has reminded the world that greatness doesn't come from perfection, but from authenticity. Her confession at 53 will be remembered as one of the defining moments of her story, a moment when silence gave way to truth, and truth gave way to freedom. Fans will hold on to this not simply as the day she confirmed their suspicions, but as the day she taught them that truth has its own perfect timing. Ultimately, Sinach's confession is a story of grace. At 53, she showed the world that honesty doesn't diminish a person's influence, it amplifies it. It strengthens legacy rather than weakens it. Her courage becomes an inspiration not just to fans of gospel music, but to anyone who has ever wrestled with the decision to reveal their own truths. It is a reminder that being honest about who we are and what we faced can be one of the most powerful acts of faith.